As you approach the racquetball court, pickleball, tennis, you can start to move your shoulders in some circles and forward, moving them in both directions. Circling the wrists and the ankles is also important because you will be using them quickly. Now, if the body is not used to that type of movement, the sport or that movement, and then you go into it fast and strong, that is the moment that injury is likely to happen. So warming the body by doing the similar movements that you will be doing when you are playing that sport is a great idea to prevent injury. So you can start by taking a walk around your racquetball court, your tennis court, and doing some movement that is similar to what you will be doing when you play the sport. Practicing rotation, arm movements, arm swings, open, close, big circles of the arms backwards and forwards is a great way to warm the body to prevent injury. You can lift and lower the knees, and you can take a walk, getting some movement in your body. Practice moving forward quickly, back quickly. Now, we often lead sedentary lives where our bodies are often standing or sitting still. And if we go from that to needing to jump forward quickly to get the ball, what can happen is the feet feel very stuck on the ground. If you tighten the belly and the bottom muscles and you keep the knees bent, the body will be able to move quicker forward and back to catch that ball. You can also practice moving side to side quickly, lifting up your heels and using the front of your feet by your toes, the ball of your foot, to move quickly. This is also the movement that a boxer would use to be able to stay light on his feet. Or you'll see young children moving this way because they move around quickly without being stuck on the ground. So that's a good way to warm the body so you're ready for your sport. Moving quickly around on your feet is a good practice because it also makes you better at your sport. And then practicing rotations through the torso and hips is a good way to warm up the knees and protect them from injury. It's common to injure yourself in racquetball sports in the knee and shoulder joint. The knee joint gets injured because the feet are used to being still, and now I have to go after this ball and I just swing my racket and turn. The knee joint does not rotate left and right. The only way I can move my knee in that direction, left or right, is by picking up the foot. I actually have to remove the foot from the ground in order to move the knee in a new direction. Basketball players and tennis players wind up with knee injuries because their feet are stuck on the ground and then they turn their whole body to head into a different direction for the ball. It is important to practice being light on your feet and picking up your feet so that your knees don't get injured. You can practice this with rotation. So I'm going to lift up my heels and turn my body, letting the knee turn in as if I'm swinging a racket. And then I can set that foot down and pick up the other heel and turn on the toe as if you're swinging a racket in that rotation. So you're practicing coming up on the toe of the back foot and dropping the knee, turning it in for that rotation, picking up the heel and turning in that rotation. This is very similar to a cross punch in boxing. But you have to have that rotation from the feet. Otherwise, you will hurt your knees if you're just moving from your arms. So again, tightening the stomach, tightening the bottom is a good way to use your muscles instead of the joint that allows you to move quickly on your feet and turn quickly. Come up to a ball, come back, and rotate quickly. Now, another reason that there are injuries in racket sports is because of the shoulder. Because we live lives where we sit at computers, we're often forward in our shoulders. Cars and couches often have us slumping in our seat, rounded backs. Even when we read a book, our shoulders are often forward. So if we come into our racket sports with this position, a rounded back and shoulders forward, our shoulders are set up to be injured in this position. If I then take momentum and my racket, eager to get that ball, and I use whatever strength I have to swing into it, my shoulder is set up to be injured. It is not in the correct alignment to stay strong and healthy. What I need to do is bring the chest forward, the shoulders down and back, so that the shoulder is in the socket, is in the joint where it should be. The shoulders need to drop down the back so that when they rotate and swing, that they're in the proper alignment in that joint properly so that they can stay healthy. So practicing your posture where your stomach muscles are tight and your chest is lifted and your arms would rotate from that position of a proud chest, an open chest, and the rotation through the body. So I'm not just hitting the ball with my arm. I start the momentum with my feet, picking up the heels, rotating through the hips, chest, and then the arm. If I use that hip into it, I have a lot of power in my racket swing. If I can keep my chest open, I can drop my shoulders into the socket, and when I swing, my shoulder joint is protected. So all of these movements can be done at the beginning of a racket practice so that your body is warm and you have your alignment practiced before you play your sport with a lot of energy, and that way you can prevent injury. At the end of your play, at the end of the sport, you should do some stretches that also help prevent injury. They reduce the amount of tension in the body. Now, let's say you're out at a tennis court or a racket court. There might be a park bench. You could take a hold of the back of the park bench and walk your feet away, opening the chest, letting the arms stretch. Again, what we said is if you do anything fast and quick that your body's not used to, you can injure yourself. So if I go into this stretch really fast and I'm not used to it, I can injure myself stretching. I need to take a breath, be gentle and slow, and notice how my body wants to move. Stop when my body wants to stop. Maybe even slow down and settle there and breathe and help it relax and stay there and help it stretch. So you're opening the chest and arms for a chest stretch or a pec stretch that helps the shoulder joint at the end of your practice. You can hold on to a post, a tree, a park bench, or just even open the arms back behind you, sticking out your chest, taking a nice big breath and looking up at the sky. These are great stretches at the end of practice. Another thing you can do with a park bench is hold on to it and put one foot up behind you, letting the knee drop down towards the ground, and the hips might even press forward. This is great to reduce the level of tension, pain, and stress in the knee and the hips. This is stretching your quadricep. You can do it on both feet. And if you find it's hard to balance, you can always turn around to another side and rotate differently. Again, letting the knee drop down and the hips press forward. If the park bench is too high up, you can grab your foot or just turn it on the floor, on the ground, down, pressing the hips forward. Holding on to a tree or a wall or a post or a fence. So we're stretching the quadricep. We should also stretch the hamstring and the lower back. So doing these 3 stretches at the end of any racket sport is very important. If you're not going to do any other stretches, please do these 3. You're going to press your foot out with the heel on the ground. You're going to press your hips back and reach forward towards your toes. That's stretching the lower back, the hips, and the glutes, taking a breath. You can also do this on a park bench, bringing the foot up or even higher. You're letting the hips go back, the knee might be bent or straight, and you're reaching out toward your toes, breathing. Feel free to keep your knees bent and hold on to the bench, a fence, your leg. Again, I'm not yanking and going fast. I need to be gentle and slow and relax and repeat this stretch often, weekly, maybe even daily. Any athlete does regular stretching so that they reduce their chance of injury. So taking time to shake out any of the tension in your body and doing those stretches at the end of your practice. Another thing you may think of when you're playing racket sports is sometimes people trip and fall. When they trip and fall, or they're falling towards the ground, they often reach out their hands like in a stop motion and try to catch themselves with their wrist. So this joint, these little bones, are stopping the momentum of however much I weigh. So if I weigh 120 pounds, that joint has an impact of 120 pounds flying in this direction, or however much you weigh. So I don't think that's smart to shove that momentum into this little joint and small bones. It would be smarter if I was falling to try to grab my legs and bend my knees. If I ran quickly, I might be able to prevent the fall. Drop the racket, grab your legs and bend your knees. You might prevent the fall. Instead of grabbing the floor, drop the racket, grab your knees, try to run into that. You might stop the fall. If you were going to fall, it might be smarter to curl into a little ball and let the leg, the hip, the shoulder roll on the ground, rolling versus slamming into a wrist or a knee. So it's about practicing this rotation into the ground that'll keep the movement happening. And I might bump my butt or my back, my shoulder, curled into a little ball to protect those joints. What I don't want to go is straight down on a knee, straight down on a wrist. Much better to turn and roll into the ground. So all of these things can be practiced before I am playing to warm up the body and to prevent injury. If this video was useful for you, you can send a gratitude donation. My website is creativehealingmovement.com. There are videos, information, appointments, and classes. At the bottom of any page, there is a link to send a gratitude donation. You do not have to have a PayPal account to check out with secure processing. Thank you.